Oley Hills, a four-township area consisting of District, Rockland, Pike, and Earl townships in Berks County, Pennsylvania. Land encompassing approximately 36,000 acres, one of the largest undisturbed forested areas in Berks County. Home to 6 exceptional value streams: Pine Creek, Oysterville Creek, Beaver Creek, Saucony Creek, Upper West Branch of the Perkiomen, and Trout Run. And they are exceptional because they represent the highest designation of any stream or watershed in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. Only 4%, or 3,400 miles of Pennsylvania's streams, are designated exceptional value out of 83,000 stream miles. 6 of the 14 state-designated exceptional value watersheds within the Schuylkill River system are located in the Oley Hills. These exceptional value watersheds in the Oley Hills provide millions of downstream users with clean drinking water. The Oley Hills lies in the geographic core of the Reading Prong and the Pennsylvania Highlands. The Pennsylvania Highlands has been designated as a federal conservation region. The Pennsylvania Department of Conservation and Natural Resources recently designated the Pennsylvania Highlands as a statewide significant greenway. The Oley Hills are a priority landscape and resource area in the Schuylkill Highlands Greenway and the Conservation Landscape Initiative. The Highlands region is 3.5 million acres of forest, farmland, and rugged hills extending from south-central Pennsylvania through New Jersey and New York into northwestern Connecticut. These easternmost ridges of the Appalachian Mountains form a greenbelt for the Philadelphia, New York City, Hartford metropolitan area. The Highlands provide clean drinking water to over 15 million people and are home to over 250 endangered, threatened, and rare species.
The Oley Hills are primarily the hills that surround Oley Township, which is a basin where the farmland is of very superior quality, and the hills around township were called the Oley Hills a long time back. I have a map that I think was dated around 1776. The Oley Hills are shown on the map as the formation surrounding Oley, and we consider the Oley Hills to be largely the area that forms the current-day Rockland, Pike, District, Township, and we also include Earl Township.
Walk through the hills and valleys of the Oley Hills. It almost seems that time stands still. Reminders of the first European settlers dot the countryside, capturing the pride in craftsmanship and love of land. These settlers came from all different areas of Europe: England, France, Germany, Switzerland, and Sweden. The Oley Hills became a melting pot of these people who valued the land and worked hard to preserve their heritage.
This whole area was settled in the early 1700s. And the first settler in Oley was Isaac de Turk, and one of the later settlers was Abraham Bertholet, and I'm related to the Bertholets and the de Turks. The farming in the Oley Valley has been completely dependent on the water quality and the land quality. People realized that water was important. The Oley is one of the best farming areas in the state, and the Oley Hills have protected the Oley Valley. And the old iron forges and furnaces were the first industry, really, other than farming. And I think the wealth of the area largely is due to the iron industry and the iron furnaces and forges that existed here. And one of the requirements is having a good water supply and water power. And there are many important historical sites in Oley, in this whole area, that people have appreciated and have preserved. The whole township of Oley is on the National Register. This whole area, I would say, it's one of the most pristine areas at least in Berks County, if not in the state.
The Oley Hills are special to me because they are so very beautiful, they are naturally beautiful, they contain a lot of exceptional value streams that give clean water to so many people that would be without it. When I look out the window and see the beauty of nature and see the stream running and the water gurgling and see the wind swaying the top trees, I think I'm in paradise. And you know, preserving is a ripple effect, like when you throw a stone into the water, people get interested more and more and more. Yeah.
and under Pennsylvania state law, exceptional value wetlands receive special protection. They are the seeps and springs that start the flow of water and provide life to the plants, animals, and people who live there.
Well, wetlands are important because of the function they provide. They mitigate flooding, and that's obvious now when people experience storm events like Sandy. Without all those tidal wetlands, and they were just completely impacted by that storm. So on a local level, wetlands also mitigate flooding problems. They serve as groundwater recharge areas, and they also provide habitat for fish and wildlife. The Oley Hills is a really special area. It's the source of so many of these exceptional value headwater streams. Oley Hills just represents a pristine, valuable, and really unique area, especially here in Southeast PA. And I'm hoping that they take steps to protect it and continue our work and have this area available for future generations.
The Pine Creek Valley Watershed Association was originally styled as an environmental defense fund on a local level, much like the Environmental Defense Fund is on a sort of international level, or the Sierra Club has its own environmental defense organization. It was founded in 1987 and essentially came about because there were perceived threats to our area in terms of development. And most of the people in our area were fortunately used to having it be the way it always was, which was a very rural, tranquil area, sort of an escape from the major cities and the suburban areas. We sat down with one of the Oley Township supervisors in Highlands, Snyder. They had had a great deal of success in opposing some of the subdivisions in Oley and enacting zoning. And so we decided that we were going to form a watershed organization, which we did in 1987. And then in 1988, the actual Pine Creek watershed was upgraded to exceptional value, which meant that it had received one of the highest designations of any stream in Pennsylvania.
I was involved with efforts in the Oley Township to preserve the agricultural land there. This began back in the mid to late 80s. I was involved with a man by the name of Frederick Eirich, who was the spearhead of a lot of the efforts to preserve farmland by instituting forms at the local level, specifically in the zoning, having agriculture preservation zoning.
The Pine Creek Valley Watershed Association has worked for more than 25 years to preserve the farmland and woodlands of the Pine Creek watershed and other exceptional value watersheds of the Oley Hills.
It has taken several different strategies to achieve this end. We took a short-term strategy of changing local regulations to preserve the environment. The second technique was litigation, to contest any developments that we felt would result in the lowering of the water quality. The third technique, and this is the best of all, is the acquisition of the easements on the properties, the conservation easement, which results in that land being in perpetuity, being preserved in its natural state. Purchase of conservation rights is an absolute best tool that we've had for preserving the land, in that the landowner still retains title to his land, but an easement is purchased from him that would prohibit development on the land. The Raymond Profit Foundation, of which I'm a director, has played a vital role in the preservation of the state's water quality, particularly as applies to degradation or anti-degradation matters.
The Pine Creek Valley Watershed Association has also championed the protection of the exceptional water quality of the streams of the Oley Hills.
We have done this chiefly by employing litigation to prevent the unwise use of lands, but also chiefly to require, again, that the government simply follow what is already an established law by putting those laws into regulations and then enforcing the regulation. In the case of an exceptional value stream, we have argued, and the judge has agreed with us, that the individual impact of any project must not lower the existing water quality. The waters which we are talking about impact everybody in the state.
These people that we work with in the Pine Creek Coalition have very high motives. They're interested in resource protection. They're interested in ensuring that water quality in the Pine Creek is maintained, and they want to make sure that any development that does occur occurs in an environmentally sound manner. And if we pollute our upstream water supplies, eventually someone downstream receives polluted water. If we fill wetlands in the Pine Creek watershed that had high value for storing floodwaters, eventually that floodwater that was stored in our wetlands in the Pine Creek watershed are displaced into the stream and eventually cause flooding problems for downstream neighbors.
Well, way back in 1995, Wissahickon Bottled Water Company was trying to lease a parcel of property in town referred to as the Trout Hatchery, which had some incredible springs. It was generating or yielding upwards of, I think, 300 gallons of really pure water per hour. And the intent was to extract the water from the spring and sell it as bottled water.
So a lot of people came together, got to know each other. The Pike-Oley District Preservation Coalition, which we call POD-PC, was formed as a result of the Wissahickon threat.
And the idea was to basically coordinate efforts to defeat or reverse Wissahickon's permits, and also to argue the point of the residents before the Board of Supervisors. So there were basically three different legal matters proceeding at that time, one locally, one before this regional body, the Watershed Authority, and then one before the state, the DEP. The legal significance went beyond just the practical significance. The court actually admonished DEP for not implementing its own regulations when it considers applications such as Wissahickon's. They're required not to consider impacts on adjacent properties, especially wetlands and other matters. It had a statewide impact as well. A number of environmental organizations in the area and Oley Township and Pike Township joined together to negotiate with the owners of the hatchery to buy a development right or a conservation easement on the property.
Well, I grew up here. I'm Pennsylvania Dutch. I paint because I always wanted to draw and paint. I think you're born with a skill or a talent or a gift, and that's mine. And I love doing landscapes. I did a group of 20 local landscape paintings and sold them all. I had the checks made out to POD-PC. They contributed to the purchase of a conservation easement on the Sterling Spring Trout Hatchery. And the trout hatchery and the adjoining land is all now saved, and Wissahickon went away. George Kramer and I created Oley Hills Alive. George was a photographer and I was the artist that could pull it together because I had worked in computer-assisted design.
Jack and George were interested in preserving the land and turning it over to the next generation in better condition than they received it.
The Berks Conservancy believes that nature is essential to life on Earth, and that pretty much sums it up for us. So what we're doing is on a local level trying to bring that awareness to all segments of the population, from children all the way up through the adults. The state of Pennsylvania has initiatives around the Pennsylvania Highlands. These are areas designated throughout the state for important greenway, wide swaths of land that allow the movement of species through them and have the natural processes at work. We're talking about a massive area, the Schuylkill Watershed, and here almost half of the high quality water is coming from one area. So you have the exceptional resources, and you have a commitment and a recognition by your county, by your state, and then you have local people and regional conservation organizations working to show this area as a model. It doesn't have to all end up being developed, that water and food are at the very basis of our life on the planet, and that's why the Oley Hills and the Oley Valley are great representatives of this. In the Oley Hills, while most of the people are drinking off of their own private wells, these streams ultimately end up the drinking water supply of millions of people downstream in the Schuylkill River watershed, many drinking water supplies in cities along there. The Pine Creek Valley Watershed Association has been one of the Berks Conservancy's great partners. I think the major thing that we've done together is land preservation, where we have accumulated quite a bit of conservation easements. We are over 3,500 acres of protected land in what we call the Oley Hills of Berks County. The largest single ownership that's been protected in the Oley Hills is the Wilhelm Roscher property, and that is 336 acres. And that is one of the headwaters of the Pine Creek and one of the headwaters of the Oysterville Creek, both exceptional value streams.
Father had a total of 360 acres. The creek flowing through there, it's the headwaters to Oysterdale Creek. The fact that it's special is that it's on a rolling hills, and it's a watershed. The springs in my meadow now are the headwaters for Pine Creek. Specifically, I protected land by putting it into Berks County Conservancy and the CREP program. And the Conservancy did the paperwork, and so it's now protected forever. It can never ever be developed.
I'm currently chairman of the Planning Commission. Over those long years, we've done a lot of innovative things in our township. We have conservation zoning. We have put some ordinances in effect that are protective of our resources. We have an overlay of a 3-acre zoning over the entire township, which means 3 good acres. After you net out your environmentally sensitive areas, your steep slopes, your wetlands, you have to have 3 good acres to build on. That's never been done before. It's been groundbreaking, I think. I think that some of the things that have happened in this little township, which is 11.6 square miles, has had a ripple effect across the state. The people that live here are remarkable. They're not just thinking about economic gain. They want this place to look the same way in 100 years like I do.
Regional zoning also played a role in the protection of the Oley Hills. The foresight of the Berks County Commissioners and the Berks County Planning Commission were responsible for preserving large areas of land within Berks County. Today, Berks County has over 65,000 acres of farmland under permanent protection. It ranks first in Pennsylvania and third in the United States among counties in the preservation of this precious resource.
The Pine Creek has wonderful, wonderful water. I think the Pine Creek is a wonderful, wonderful place. And little animals get to drink from it, like deer, foxes, and woodpeckers, chipmunks, squirrels, and robins.
The Oley Hills is extremely special because of the amount of acreage in it and vast, almost contiguous land masses together that I think is going to become more rare and rare as we go along, and that will attract almost like a museum of nature in the future, because everything else will get developed and everything, and this will be so exceptional. I think as the morning started, the Pine Creek Water Association, with their vision, I think they've accomplished a great deal. As any organization does, they become more organized and more focused. And once you've accomplished certain missions, then you move on to bigger and better things.
The farm has been in my family for almost 200 years. We can trace back to 1819, where the first ancestors living here. To me, it's special because it's been in my family so long, and I'm very attached to it. So it's the only home I've truly ever known. The emotional attachment is there, plus the beauty of it. We have several of the seeps and the beginning streams that feed into the Pine Creek. And then Pine Creek, the association came along and put us in touch with the Conservancy, the Berks Conservancy.
And we were able to preserve it through this program. It was a combination of state, federal, and local money. So the whole thing resides with the Berks County Conservancy. They're the overseers of the easement. We can sleep better because we know it's preserved.
Our property is very enchanting. I remember the first time driving up the driveway from Mine Road and seeing the trees and this beautiful stone farmhouse hidden behind the trees. And I just felt as though North Hill Farm was quite enchanting. And I still feel that way today.
North Hill Farm is a 105-acre property Property dates back to 1752. One of the things that we enjoy most about living in this area is because it has that rural feel. We bought North Hills Farm just because of trying to protect the area and trying to protect the property. So when we purchased the farm 10 years ago, our key goal was to put it under conservation in order to keep the property protected.
And I just enjoy spending time just loving the area, and my husband and I on occasion will saddle up the horses and go for a nice long ride, and it just makes you realize how it was all well worth everything that we've done over the past 10 years was well worth the time and effort that we put into putting our property into a conservation easement.
The conservation easement process was very simple. There were plenty of people out there to help you through the process. And if you're conscientious about the environment already, it becomes second nature.
Well, the net result of the efforts of the Watershed Association, the Fish Commission, and individuals who live within the Pine Creek drainage to protect this stream is that future generations will have an area that is somewhat pristine, somewhat representative of life in the past, and an area which they can take pride in knowing that it has been protected by the efforts of past generations. The future generations can enjoy the beauty of the area and the resources that are harbored within that watershed.
Well, in the next 25 years, I'd really like to see as much of this area protected as possible, significantly more than 10%. I'd like to make sure that the streams stay as pure as they are, and I also have some aspirations of reaching out a little bit farther around us.
I'd like to congratulate the Pine Creek Watershed Association for all the work they've done. Before I was here, while I've been here, the partnering with them, working with them, they've done a tremendous amount of work. You can call it environmental activism, you can call it just being good stewards, but they're a wonderful organization and they should be very proud of all of the work they've accomplished in the last 25 years.
The Pine Creek Watershed Association, in partnership with other organizations, celebrating 25 years of stewardship in the protection of the land and water resources of the Oley Hills.